You can't. This meeting is being recorded. The town is purposely trying to remain impartial and balance the rights of land use rules in the campground. For that reason, we cannot answer specific questions regarding interpretation of the ordinance with regard to Jellystone. Currently, there are several permitting processes available to Jellystone and the public. The select board can make decisions about liquor permits. And
About
currently,
what? I'm sorry, can you say that again? About what?
We're having trouble hearing you.
Yeah, can you just say that again? About what points?
the select board can make decisions about liquor permits.
Oh, okay.
And currently, we have a pending application, and we just received it today. And it's going to be on the docket for Tuesday, April 5th, select board meeting. And then the planning board reviews applications for conditional use, site plan, and subdivisions, things like that. And there's no applications on the docket for that. The code officer, Chip Stevens, who's right over here. He reviews building permits, internal plumbing permits, subsurface wastewater permits, and campground ordinance. And there's a renewal permit every year. He's issued 3 permits for building permits for a remodel of existing bathrooms on the property. And he's also issued 3 permits of internal plumbing for remodel of existing bathrooms on the property. There's no pending subsurface wastewater permits on the property at this time, none pending. There is a pending application for a campground renewal permit that's due May this year. And the select board is working on a special amusement ordinance to work on controlling noise and quality of life issues around bars and entertainment venues, which would cover the campground. I look forward to hearing your concerns and having a good and productive meeting. And I'm going to turn it over to Steve Hayes to moderate the meeting. And I believe Jeremy's going to start with his presentation. And thank you.
Why don't you do your presentation, please?
Everybody do that. Who's Brian Carr? All right. First of all, I want to thank everybody for coming out. I know this is kind of a long time coming. We acquired Beaver Brook Campground back in October 2021 through Northgate Resorts. And since then, a lot has happened, and I know that there's concerns and just questions about the campground itself. So I'm the general manager, Jeremy, at the resort. So hopefully this presentation is going to help alleviate some of the concerns or problems or any real questions you have about what's going to happen in the future. So we're going to answer questions the best we can at the end of the presentation. Until then, sit back, relax, and it's going to be a fun ride. Go ahead. So this is the philosophy that we carry out through Northgate. There's not a lot of slides I'm going to read verbatim, but this one I'm going to. Northgate aims to preserve the history of our resorts, embracing the future of outdoor recreation, creating a vacation destination where families can create memories that will last a lifetime. This is precisely the philosophy we put into practice at our redevelopment of the Beaver Brook campground. So we essentially, when Northgate buys up properties, all the properties have not really been up to par, up to standard of where Northgate would really like them to be. We do hold ourselves in a high standard when it comes to a campground setting. So this philosophy is that we take campgrounds like Beaver Brook and try to make them better for the environment, the community, and the guests that are staying there, while also creating jobs and opportunities in the area for people to come and work with us. So this is our official name. So Jellystone Park, Augusta, Maine. You'll see it blasted everywhere. You really can't go wrong with a cute guy like that. So jumping into some of the amenities that we had, I really wanted to show you kind of like the before and after pictures of where we would like to go. I don't know how many people you've actually been to Beaver Brook Campground in the last 5 years. This is the state of the bathhouses when I got there in November. So they were very run down. The amenities were not good. The bathroom stall doors didn't even shut all the way. Some of them had a 6-inch opening after you already shut the door. So we actually started back in October, and that's what Aaron was talking about, where we pulled permits to refurbish every bathhouse on property. And while doing that, we actually, as a company, were able to decide to go to a single stall bathroom for each unit in these bathhouses, which for one is going to be cleaner and safer for families to be able to come to the park. And it just gives a better setting than having an open concept bathroom at a campground that you usually see. So the next slide will show you what we're going to. So you can see it's not done yet. We are in the middle stages of the process. All those doors on this left-hand side, before there was just one door that opened up to all the bathrooms. Now we have individual bathrooms. So every door will have a shower, toilet, and vanity sink in there for privacy, safety of kids, for families to be able to go into these and utilize them however they need to. Right-hand side, same thing. You can see that we put some stonework on the bottom. We're going to do some brand new metal roofing, stain it up, and they're going to be beautiful compared to a lot of the other buildings we have on property. So currently we have this pool over the left-hand side. It's one of the better pieces of facilities that we have. So you see the slides, you see the pool. And then in the future, we are looking at installing a water park. It's not really a water park. We do call it a water feature. More or less, it's a splash pad for kids. It's only about 2 or 3 feet deep at the deepest part. And then there's a couple slides and water cannons. Nothing that's going to be seen or heard really from a distance whatsoever. With that, this is a picture of one of our other properties, just because we're not quite at this phase for our development part. But there would be a secondary pool to go along with the splash pad for the kids, so that way adults and teenagers would be able to have their time away from the splash pad itself. So this is the style of splash pad. I know it looks like it's kind of crazy in this picture. It's really not 80 feet tall. I think it's maybe 15 feet or so, maybe 20 feet at the top of that tower that just splashes water down. Some water cannons for the kids to play, just for better entertainment for the guests that we have at our property. Okay. Other future plans. So right now we only have 2 cabins. One you saw on the very first screen. They're very rustic. They have half baths in them. These are what we call park models. These park models aren't going to come this year. It's definitely in the future for possibly 2023 and 2024. But these park models will sleep 6 to 8 people. Have full amenities in them, so they'll have a full kitchen. They'll have a washroom, a shower. And then most of them do come with an outdoor deck for lounging outside in bad weather or just mosquito season, because that's what we get here. Okay. Also, some other amenities that we're looking to upgrade. So this is the picture of our North Carolina property. This is their current store that they just renovated. These are really the features that we're aiming for. And this kind of shows you the money that Northgate and some communities is willing to put in their properties to make them better properties for everyone. So if anybody's been to our store or the Beaver Brook store, it's very run down and very old and rustic. This is a much updated version of what we would like to do moving into 2023. These are just amenities, cafeteria / bar areas that are near the pool at our North Carolina property. And North Carolina property, if you get a chance to go on their website, it's called Jellystone Park in Boston, North Carolina. And they're really our sister property. We're really aiming to get to their status, and you'll see the amenities that they have and the things that they have going on property and the difference between what we have now and where we want to go. Other amenities that we have, so we're going to be putting in gem mining this year. It's a self-contained unit for kids to buy bags of sand that have gems in them. They can sift through it and find whatever they're going to find in their bags. We are going to have rental canoes, kayaks, and paddle boards to utilize on the lake that we did purchase this year, and we are going to continue to have mini golf this year and into the future. Dock system. I know this is a big hit on the recommendations or complaints of the past and how we're going to move into the future. So I really wanted to emphasize on this, where we're coming from and what we're going to. As you can see on the left-hand side here, this was the dock system that was in place. Very obsolete, unsafe, run down, and still using the old foam, styrofoam insulation on the bottom to make it float in a lake that we're trying to preserve. On the right-hand side, though this is not our dock system right now, this is the exact same dock system we're going to be installing. It is a aluminum dock system, brand new from the dock guys, coming out of Waterville. Brand new aluminum system, and then with a Trex top to make it safe and clean and make it the best possible way for us to keep our lake clean as well. We, as a company, because we're such an outdoor company, our main goal is to preserve everything that we're looking to sell. Our guests want to come and camp. We want to preserve the woods. We want to preserve the lakes and streams. It's really where we make our money. Nobody's going to come to our camp if everything's, green and algae filled. So essentially, every time we buy these properties, we try to go through the proper channels and find ways to better our situation and the community situation. So as we work through our development, we'll use the right channels to go through whatever associations we need to contact, any state funded programs that we need to use to make sure we're doing things properly as we build our property over the next 3 or 4 years. So I just wanted to put in a slide about our team. I know in the past, some of the management team or staff at the property was pretty nil, mostly because they had a hard time hiring people. So this is our 2022 management team now. General manager myself, we have an administration manager, our food and beverage and retail manager, which is Teresa back here in the corner. We have a store supervisor who is supervised by Teresa, a guest experience manager, which is Chris Brannigan here. He oversees the front desk. He also oversees the activities. We are heavy on making sure that we have activities that are family friendly. So we have activities basically starting from 8 o'clock in the morning till 8 o'clock at night every day, either every hour, every 2 hours for kids and adults, so that way everybody can entertain themselves while at the park. At the bottom here, we have the maintenance manager, Scott Allen, who's also in the back here. He is going to have a maintenance supervisor underneath him. Moving into 2023, as we develop the park, there are positions that we don't currently have because we're just in that development stage. So the park operations manager, which is a key role for our properties because of how we function, and we want to make sure that we're following the rules and that people don't get out of hand because we're a very friendly, family-oriented park. This park operations manager is essentially the security blanket over the property. So they come in, they run security, they do checks throughout the park. They're there 24 hours a day, and they do pool checks. They do checks on the beach. When we have events, there'll be 2 or 3 people there running events. Basically, our internal security system. We are going to be adding the food and beverage supervisor, along with other supervisors and managers in those departments. Grounds supervisor, so somebody that's specifically taking care of the grounds, landscaping, trees, anything that's a safety issue when it comes to that aspect. And then executive housekeeper for when we have our park models on property. We will be using an executive housekeeper for keeping those clean and turning them over. And along with these people, there also comes a team underneath them. So it's not just them running a department. So some of these departments will have 2 to 3 people, and some will have up to 8 people in them. One of the big things I really wanted to push out there was that we use local vendors. Northgate is very cautious about wanting to be able to give back to the community. And what we're doing now, even with just the small projects that we're doing with the bathhouses and the cleanup around the property, tree cleanup, these are all the local vendors. And I don't believe this is even all of them, but a lot of the ones that we've used since I started in November. So we really go out of our way to make sure we use as many local vendors as possible. And hopefully there's somebody up here that each of you know. If there's not, and you know somebody, please let us know and we'll reach out to them to see if they want to come do some work for us. Some key points. So these are some of the big changes that we have from the old park to our park, which I thought were going to be very good talking points for tonight. So Northgate, we do enforce our quiet hours very strictly. That's where that park operations comes into handy. They will be going around 11 o'clock is our latest curfew. Some days it is 10 o'clock, just depends on the day. And at that time, we do range the entire resort, making sure that everybody's being quiet on their sites and that there's no loud noises past that time to not bother people around the area. Personal golf carts, scooters, motorized kiddie cars, motorbikes of any kind are prohibited. That includes motorcycles. So I know that there are issues with motorcycles in the area being allowed around the park. The reason we don't allow these things there, for one, is the noise, and two is safety. Because we have so many family comes to our park, we don't want motorbikes and cars and side-by-sides driving around our park, being crazy, and just creating a lot of issues. And then the safety aspect of kids moving around our park. This is the safest way we can do it. People are allowed to rent our carts. They're all electric. They have governors on them. So they're very quiet, eco-friendly, and make no noise. Safety purposes, they can only go so fast. This is a state regulation. They can't bring their own firewood. This is something that we check every vehicle as they come in. We don't go deep into the vehicles, but we check just to make sure it's not visible when they come in. Ask them if they do have firewood, and if they do, we do ask them to purchase ours instead of using theirs. And we do enforce that very heavily to make sure that the impact of burning outside wood is not brought to me. Washing trailers, RVs, and other vehicles on property is prohibited. So this comes into play when we're talking about our lake and our streams and our bog and any other water source that we have. They really want to make sure that we're keeping everything that keeps us running and people utilizing it and anything that's around the lake as well. So other community members and other businesses are able to utilize the lake, and that from our part, it's not being ruined or contaminated as much as we can. Fireworks, firearms are strictly prohibited. So that's another noise thing. I know there's a lot of parks that do allow it, especially where it's legal in Maine, but our park does not allow it unless we're doing it ourselves. Not the firearms, we're not allowed to have firearms either, just the firearms. And then another big one is that we do reserve the right to remove anyone from our camp resort for violating the rules. So we don't take it lightly when somebody breaks the rules, especially when it comes to safety or even noise complaints or any type of environmental issues. And we don't, as a company, have an issue with removing somebody very quickly if we think that they're going to violate any of those rules. And I think that's a very big one to know, especially with activities going on, and if people were to get out of hand, it's not something that we take lightly. And we will remove them very quickly to no longer be an issue to us or the community. So we did have a study done across, now we have 35 parks. I think it was done when we had about 32 parks. This is just a little bit of information. The first one is that the Northgate's significant investment to the infrastructure, buildings, amenities see a typical property tax increase of 30 to 60%, depending on the variety of factors. So it depends on how much land we have in your town, what amenities we actually implement in your town, and then that's money, obviously, that goes directly back to the town. The employment impact. So this year we are planning to have somewhere between 30 and 50 employees. And that'll be for this year and next year. Next year, we actually are aiming to have right around 80 employees next year with those added management systems and teams put into place, which is a huge jump. I believe they had 23 or 27 people last year. So just having that many people on property, it helps us able to maintain that property a lot better and make it a safer environment for everybody utilizing it. And then the indirect and induced jobs. So this is for people that are coming to work for us, all those vendors that we're using. Since I've started, I believe just through the vendors that I stated on that screen, we had paid out about $1.5 million to those vendors in the community. So it's not a small number that we're actually putting back in the community as we build this property. One of my, I believe this is my last slide. So as of Monday, I had a call with John Cummings, Liddy, and Ted about the water, the lake and the watershed associations. So with the Lake Association, we are becoming a member so that way we can be part of the community that is trying to develop whatever systems we need to put in place to really reserve the lake to where we want it to be. Lydia Robbins at the 30 Mile River Watershed Association. So those of you who don't know this association, they do environmental impact studies, they do water assessments throughout the state, and they also do a Lake Smart program. So we are actually getting involved in the Lake Smart program, so that way we can do internal assessments and have them come out and do assessments because we have so many water systems on our park already. That's going to help us preserve everything that we have there moving through our development stages. We're also going to be doing daily boat checks for any boats that come in and out of the water on our property. So I know that was a big one that wasn't done in the past, and we're going to make sure that we get training done before we open with various aspects of our management team, so that way no matter how many boats are coming in and out, what time of day, we'll be able to make those checks and doing them pretty consistently. And the last one, talk to me about Saving Androscoggin, the campaign for a healthy lake. This is something that we're in beginning stages of talks with. We do know that there's a 3-year plan that's in motion right now that they're trying to raise money for. Whether we make that as a donation or do fundraisers, we are in talks with them to get that plan and be part of the plan, so that way we're not just handing over money, but we also want to be involved. So between making an investment with that, with the Healthy Lake Association, and being part of the 3-year plan, we'll really be able to understand what's going on with the lake and what we can do to help the impact be less when it comes to anything that might endanger the lake itself. The last thing I do want to talk about is around the lake. So we did have people bring up concerns about our dock system, our old boat launch, and I just wanted to make sure that we hit on a point that was brought up at our last meeting. It does appear that somebody had mentioned us being denied a DEP permit. I just want to make it clear that it was not denied because we were going about it the wrong way. The DEP permit that I filed was to actually move the boat launch, and the form that I used to try to move the boat launch was actually filed to the DEP instead of the Army Corps of Engineering. So it got denied just so that way I could reroute it to the proper place where it needed to be submitted to. And I haven't submitted it yet. We are actually waiting until next year. I'm working with these 3 associations to find a way for us to better utilize our boat launch the way it is for this year, just because of the time frame. We didn't want to be caught in between trying to put in a new boat launch and getting rid of our old one while we're trying to open our park. So I just wanted to kind of clear that up a little bit before we went too far into questions. That's my presentation for today. Again, I want to thank you all for coming and ready for questions. And yes, sir. Oh, I'm sorry. But this part's his job. I don't want.
You want to stop sharing? Or?
Yep, just 1 second. Welcome to the world of hybrid meetings. I welcome all of you. I'm going to ask Jeremy to sit here. Because then Jeremy can, get a little closer because you need to be heard.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you need to be heard on the L. My name is Steve Hayes. I'm a substitute for Doug Stevenson, who wasn't available this evening. I'm happy to be back. The long-term resident of Greenfield, although I did manage to squeeze in, I think, about 15 months living here in Wayne in the mid-90s. This isn't a formal town meeting, so we're not going to have rules of procedure, but we do have rules of decorum. And one of them is that I'm going to ask that if you want to speak, raise your hand. I will recognize you. I will then ask you to come to the mic, state your name, ask your question, and then go back and wait for the answer. Normally, I have a rule that everybody gets to speak once before anybody gets to speak twice. The other rule is sort of an adaptation of what the town manager told you. This is a forum where you can find out information from the developer, as opposed to finding out information from the town officials or boards or anything else. You will, I'm sure, have your opportunity to do that, but for right now, they don't want to do anything that might prejudice any future meeting.
If you would, you take the questions from the floor first, and then I will let you know who's got their hand up on the Zoom connection.
Yes, that was the next piece of it. You are sharing this meeting with a whole bunch of people you can't see, who will have the opportunity to put questions up by chat, and we will turn and try and get some of the chat questions in as well. And hopefully before we leave, everybody will have an opportunity to get their questions answered, maybe to their satisfaction, maybe not, but we'll do our best in the course of one evening. Any questions about procedure?
Again, if you'd ask them to put it in the chat, then we can do it officially.
For those on Zoom, please open your chat and ask your question. Direct it to everyone, because that way the other people who are participating by Zoom will be able to see if their question has been asked, and we won't have everybody asking the same question. And I think the same would apply here. I don't expect you to keep asking the same question other people have asked. So we will start with a question from the audience. Is there somebody who has any questions? Sir, stand up, move to the mic, please.
Right here?
Yeah, that's good. Okay, if he says that's fine, it's fine by me.
How about,
Yep, you're
Just
good,
speak
you're
loud.
right.
Okay. So hi, my name is Doug Ferris. Grew up here and I'm on the planning commission. Jeremy, great presentation, thank you. Mine's a simple question. When you get to end state in 2024 or beyond, and you're at max capacity, it's dog days of summer, how many people could be at this campground at one time if you're at max capacity? And I'm asking for an estimate.
An estimate would probably be based on our cabin or park models, slash, it could be anywhere from 2,000 to 5,000. Not saying that's the case, but based on occupancy of the cabins. Not all of that is in Wayne. We do have 265 acres that we're able to expand across between Wayne, Leeds, and Monmouth. So it could be anywhere in between there. There's really no guaranteed set plans right now.
Thank you. I have a bunch of follow-up, but I will yield the floor to anyone else. Thank you.
Is there a chat question yet?
Yes, there is. We have a chat question from Charlie to everyone. Will the prohibition against PWC, personal watercraft, jet skis be strictly enforced?
Absolutely. It's already actually been rolled out to our corporate office to incorporate it in next year's policies.
Question from the floor, ma'am?
Do I need to stand up or do anything?
Probably get a little closer.
Why don't you sit right there?
And you can go to the mic if you want to, or you can have the owls.
All right, we'll play musical chairs. I'm Marianne Matson. Some people might know me by other names, but we won't go there. I'm a neighbor of this, and I'm deeply concerned about the water issues, among other things. And I brought you a presentation. These are unretouched pictures of what our cove looks like.
Watch the water.
Yes, and so I would like you to be aware of, this is what, these are not Photoshop. This is the color of what our lake looked like. So I'm concerned about the increased boat population and the docking system. I know this year you're not going to do anything much to the docks, but one of your proposals was for a dock that was 218 feet. That would end up at my house. And you could dock a ocean liner there. I thought that there was a restriction that you could only have a dock every 250 feet and only 2 per dock and only 40 feet long. Can you tell us exactly what your plans are for these docks for next year?
So this is actually an issue that was brought up. And just to touch on this real quick, this was a conversation that I had with those 3 water association people and this is what I'm talking about when I say to preserve our lake. We're a big part of the lake now, and it's just as important to us as it is to you.
Right.
Because without that lake, who's gonna come to a green lake?
Right.
So
Well,
it is
it's
very
pretty, but-
important to us. Along the lines of the boat dock system, As of right now, the way it sets, we had two systems that were over 100 feet long to begin with some had 8 slips on it. And the way that he set his system up was very unorganized and not correct. I'm not really sure how else to put it. But our system that we're trying to implement will actually better the situation for the lake. It's a much cleaner system. It makes it so that way we don't have to continue to move them and really stir up the ground. It stirs up the ground quite a bit when you move a dock. And he did it constantly with the past management. They were moving them every couple of weeks because of the water levels. And with our new system, we wouldn't actually have to do that. Anything that is past the code or has an exemption to the code does have to get passed through the code enforcement board. So any of that, when we get ready to do it, would be proposed to them.
Is it not correct that there's a maximum of 40-foot docks with 2 slips per dock? To me, I'm not sure how much your beach frontage is. Is it 1,000 feet?
I believe we have a little over 1,000
Okay,
feet, yeah.
so say you have a little over, that would be 5.
Questions are fine. Ongoing conversations basically take time.
Well, I'm trying to get my question answered about what the dock system is gonna look like. I understand, but I'm trying to get my question answered as to what the dock system is going to look like and what that's gonna mean for increased boats on the lake and all that brings with it.
So no matter what system we put into place, we're not gonna exceed the amount of slips that they previously had. He had 32 slips in there before, and that's the amount that we're gonna be asked to have.
He had 32
So the way that he had his.
on one dock?
No,
Oh,
all the docks together. And ours will not exceed that number.
Question from the chat?
Next question from the chat. They come in, they moved, hold on. The next one is from Patricia Schweib. We boarded the property. Is there a way that the campers know where the property lines are, as we have in the past had people coming and going on our property?
So I can't say necessarily for what they used to do before. We will do our due diligence, especially with our ranger department coming into 2023, to be able to enforce, making sure that people are staying within our boundaries. We'll definitely enforce it this year, but because of the acreage and people walking wherever they want, there may be a chance that somebody might wander onto somebody's property, but we will maintain it as best as possible until we're able to, fully mark out our property through our development process.
Question from the floor? Sir.
My name's Chuck Thomas. I've been on this lake for 65 years. I love it. I want to keep it good. So, you have boats. What do you do for fuel?
We actually don't have any boats. We don't rent boats. The property ourselves do not have any boats. So anybody that has fuel is gonna bring their own fuel in their own boat.
Okay, because there was rumor you were renting 32 slips. Is that just to rent the slip? for
Correct.
Personal home?
Yes, so seasonals would rent those and transient people would rent those.
Now, will there be moorings out in the cove?
I'm actually pushing any person that used to have a mooring in the cove to remove it. We won't allow it at our property. So those should be removed as of this year, as I see people mooring up to them if they're staying at our property. I can't stop anybody else from mooring there, but I can stop people that are staying on our property from mooring. I've had that discussion with multiple people already.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Question from chat?
Okay, next question is from a visitor to this town, Jamie Isaacson. Does Jellystone have plans to remove the illegal travel trailers along the shoreline that have decks installed?
We do have plans at some point. I'm not sure what those plans exactly look like, but those specific ones will not be there sometime in the future. I don't know the time frame.
From the floor? Any questions from the floor? To chat?
Charlie to everyone. Oh, no, that's not Charlie. Sorry, Charlie. Sorry, Charlie. Nancy Hassenfuss, how many motorboats do you estimate will be in use at your resort at one time?
I would say the most would be 32.
Ma'am? Yes, can you stand up?
Are you talking to me?
Yes, you're a little hard to see, but I see you now, if you can move to the microphone.
Hi, I'm Molly Saunders. I'm retired from the Lake Association Board, but we also, our family has Lothar Island, Black Sand Island. I wonder if you're aware of all the special flooding issues on the lake,
I have not.
the Dead River and all?
Yeah, I haven't been given all the information about it, but while talking to Buddy and Lighty, they have been enlightening me in some of those aspects. And we will make sure that as we see either the rising water or the dropping water, we're doing whatever we can to assess that and better preserve that area so that way it's not disturbed with campers or something being there when that water comes out.
I'm really concerned about septics, not just your septic, but septics around the lake in general. Excuse me. And it's not just the camps, it's some of the campgrounds, some of the camps. They all have elevation problems with their septic systems because the flooding, I don't know if you realize, can go as high as 10, 15 feet. So a lot of septic fields, leach fields have problems. Do you know what is the elevation of your current leach field? Do you have any idea?
I believe the closest leach field is actually pretty close to the first bathhouse. Below that, we don't have any in-ground septic systems. We actually have a honey wagon that goes around to pick up septic from individual campers closer to the water. The closest ones are the new cabins that were starting to rebuild in 2017 by the old owner. And I don't know of anything closer than that. And it's pretty far off the water, and the elevation is up well over 10 or 15 feet. That being said, as we move through our development stage, there is a process in which we're actually going to correct all of the sewer lines and water lines that are run at the current property. So they'll be buried properly and then pumped into pump stations that are more sufficient than what's there now.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. So you're gonna have a problem, and you're probably gonna have to pump up.
Yep.
To a much better system.
So a lot of our other parks already have these systems in place. And as we move through our development stage, we'll definitely address the ones that need to be readdressed and pump back to stations further up there.
Right, given the special system on Interscoggin Lake, and the fact that we've now had the second bloom is really a precarious situation.
And part of that is gonna be hopefully taken care of when we have these assessments come in with Lighty. Hopefully she's able to tell us, we are gonna do some water tests and assessments with her, so that way she can tell us if there's something that we can do to change that, or if it's even coming from us, or if it's, something just coming from the lake. So getting those assessments will be crucial
Yeah,
to how
that
we
would be
move
really
forward.
good, really good. You have to realize, as I'm saying, that the high water mark is completely unique to Interscoggin Lake. Yeah, okay, well, thanks for listening about it.
Question from Jeff.
Do we have one from Nancy Hasselquist before?
Yeah, I was concerned about how many votes.
Okay. So we'll go on to Julia Bornstein. We'll come back to Nancy, hopefully. How do you plan to handle all the traffic coming to the park on Wilson Pond Road?
That is a very good question. We have reached out to the town of Monmouth to inquire about having the road paved. I'm not sure where that ended up because that wasn't a conversation that I had. It came from our development team, and that will be decided in the future. I can't give a solid answer for that, but I can definitely reach out to the development team and try to get an answer.
Okay.
Up back, sir.
Hi, my name's Tom Wells. I live on the lake as well. Your docking system and your boat launch, you have 32 slips, but are you going to be allowing your campers who do not have a slip to bring the boats in and use them and take them out and keep them at their campgrounds? Because that could really increase the boat flow.
So we will allow it, but because of the access that we have to the lake and parking for boats, it's really limited how many boats we could actually have parked. There's only a certain area in the park where you could actually park your boat.
So if you have a camp space, so to speak, there's no place to park your boat?
Correct.
Okay.
There's really no place for you to park it on your site after you put your RV in there
Okay.
and your vehicle. So.
Nancy Hasselfuss, my understanding is that 10 PM is when noise is no longer allowed legally, but you said 11 PM, question mark.
So I believe that I have looked at the town ordinance and it's 11 o'clock. I'm sorry, there was no town ordinance, but there's a state ordinance for 11 o'clock. During the weeks right now, our quiet time from Monday to Thursday is 10 o'clock, and then on the weekends it is 11. If there is an ordinance out there that's different, we will definitely abide by the ordinance and change our quiet time.
The floor, sir.
Hi there, Chris McKee. A quick question. So I think some of us are a little shocked by the 2,000 to 5,000 person number that caught us a little off guard. Just a point of reference, over the last few years, how many people might you see at any one time, historically over the last few years? Is it 1,000 people that you might have at one time? Is it 200? I'm just trying to see what's the difference.
So from last year to future years? So last year, the prior management had 220 sites. Each site could have up to 6 to 8 people. So you're still talking pretty close to 2,000 people in the park if it was at max capacity, and that's without accepting day passes, which I do believe they accepted. So they were probably pushing somewhere between 1,500 and 2,500 people on their really busy weekends, holiday weeks. So that's stretch, and I know it's a large number, but when you do spread these people out over the course of 265 acres with all of our amenities not all being in one place, it's not gonna look as big as it sounds.
Okay, Eric Lovejoy, do you have the ability to work with Google or other GPS maps to route traffic to and from your campground on major roads? Currently, the campers are routed to drive by our house on Winthrop Road. It has been disruptive with the past traffic to Beaver Brook.
I honestly don't know how to answer that question. Can anybody tell me where Old Winthrop Road is? Oh, so this is going the back way through? Okay. I honestly don't know. There may be ways to do it through Google Mapping to try to put in preferences for directing people a specific way, but it's something I'd have to look into.
Question from the floor.
Hi, my name's Allison Lincoln-Rich. I live here on the lake as well. I want to go back to your boat question. So, you talk about your 32 slips. You talk about you're going to allow people who don't have a slip to have boats on the lake. How do you plan to make sure those boats are cleaned? Are you going to have a boat station, a washing station that's up away from the lake? What's your plans for that?
So working with Liddy, she is going to come in and train our staff to do boat checks for all the boats that go in and out of our boat launch. Aside from that, we don't have a boat washing station, but as we find boats, if they do have any type of plant or algae on them, we will ask them to clean them off before leaving our site, which we'll be able to do at our maintenance building.
Check.
Okay, will you be hosting any events like bands or concerts?
Yes, bands.
Do you want to amplify on that answer?
Yes, we will have bands. I'm not.
Yeah, we don't want it to amplify.
I will ease a few minds. We are trying to find ways to better situate the bands so that they're oriented away from the lake. And I have talked to both Chip and Aaron about ways that we can do that. So whether that be pointing the band the opposite direction in the rec hall, away from the open doors that point down the lake, that's what we're gonna do. And Chris has actually purchased mobile stands, so that way when we set bands up, we can do it in different areas to better appreciate people on the lake, so that way, we're not so disruptive.
Focus it towards the bog. I think the ducks would really like it.
Essentially, that's what we're gonna do. We're actually gonna face it towards the back of the building, so. We're gonna try to do our best to minimize the noise when we do have bands.
I think we're up for a question on the floor.
Steve McLaughlin, live in Maine.
So, can you tell us the existing number of campground spots for RVs and what you plan to have in the future?
So currently we have 220, and in the future, the only number that I've seen so far that is somewhat set in stone because developments changes every day is about 350 right now. That could change in the future, but most of those are park models, newer units that hold those 6 to 8 people.
Question from the chat.
When you talk about expanding, which area are you considering the Wayne, Monmouth, or Leeds land?
All. Monmouth, there's a very small section of our property that's in Monmouth, basically undevelopable. It's right at the front of the entrance. And then Leeds, because it's an untapped market, that would be a decent spot where we're going to expand on. Wayne, we are pretty much tapped out in Wayne for amenities itself, but we may change the amenities that we have. So we might go from a regular RV site to a park model. But in Wayne itself, there's very little room for expansion just because of what's already there. The existing park's already in Wayne. Any future expansions is really going to go into Leeds and maybe a little bit in Wayne on one line.
I just have a follow-up question to the last one, which was, could you just clarify, is that 350 RV sites or 350 camping sites of combined use altogether?
350 sites combined. So that's tent sites, RVs, park models altogether.
Okay, you guys do like to have RVs though, right? How many RVs do you think? Will like half of the sites be for RVs and half other use?
Like how many pads?
It would
How
probably
many
be,
pads?
it would probably be 2/3 would actually be RVs. Yeah. So
Are those paved or dirt?
Some will be dirt. I believe there may be some that are concrete in the future, but not all of them are. I'm not paved. I'm sorry. They would be gravel. Yeah.
Okay, gravel.
Sorry.
Question from chat.
For Steve Mattson, of the 265 acres available to develop, how many will be clear cut? Looking at the NC facility, you suggested it seems to be fully cleared.
So we don't plan to clear cut anything. I do know that we do have a possibility of having a small solar field on part of the back section of the property that's unbuildable to try to get some renewable energy at our property. But other than that, there's no clear cutting. We are a campground and we want to be outdoors and have outdoor stuff. There's no sense in coming to the campground if it's just an open field.
Question from the floor. Question from chat.
This one's, we just did here, hold on a second. 1 second. Sorry. Does this company currently own and operate the Skowhegan area campground? Question mark.
No.
Any other questions?
Let me answer that, wasn't fair.
Phew.
Any other questions here? Any other questions from chat?
Yes, just a second. Forgive me. Will the bands that are playing be the same size as in the past?
I'll say pretty close. Yes. I don't know. I don't know what was there in the past. We will have some 5-person band. We'll have 1-person band. Is a 1-person band a band or is it just an individual? I'm not really. But yeah, I mean, it's regular bands. It's nothing crazy. We're not having giant concerts or, outdoor crazy festivals or stuff like that.
Okay, one more, so.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yep.
Charlie, follow up to my previous question. Will there be signs to inform guests that the PWCs are prohibited from the lake, on the lake?
Jet skis?
Yes.
Yes.
There's not going to be signs, but anybody that comes through the front gate, we're going to inform them that they can't bring it even into the park. If they bring it with them, we'll have them park it at the front office, but it definitely will not be allowed in the lake by us. That being said, I can't stop them from going to a public boat launch, but we're not pointing them that direction. We're saying it's absolutely not acceptable on the lake. And it will be in the rules and regs as of 2023.
Okay.
I'm sorry, it's me again.
Well, no one else wants to speak, so you still get.
Well, I've got 10,000 other questions, but I'll try to keep it under control. It's because, I'm right next door. Are you going to be speaking to your guests who rent your kayaks and your paddleboards about not going on our property?
It will be part of our our signed agreement stating that they will not be going onto personal property.
Okay, cool.
So they should just be going out on the lake and coming back to our property.
Okay, great, thank you.
If somebody does get lost though, hopefully somebody will point them in the right direction to get.
No, we'll send them to Alaska.
That's fine. If they get lost on the lake, that's their fault.
Be a long paddle.
Yeah.
Man.
Yes, I was wondering if you are trying to buy additional properties on the lake.
I don't know of any that we are. I do know when we were acquiring this property that they had asked people, and there is a possibility they may in the future. I just don't, I'm not the person that does that. So I can reach out and ask, and any questions that I wasn't able to answer, Teresa is writing down in the back, and I am gonna get those answers, whatever those answers are from my corporate office if they have them, and get them back to the board so they can send it out to you guys, just for reference.
We have a two-parter from Steve Mattson. If you serve alcohol all day, that's part of the question, I guess, who will stop people from getting in boats and boating on the lake? And the second part is there a curfew on boats or will they be stargazing?
So curfew on boats, I mean, I can't stop somebody if they're already on the lake and they're on the other side, but we do tell people what the hours of operations are for our boat dock, which is from sunup to sundown. So the second part is the alcohol consumption part. So the us serving alcohol, we monitor very highly. Everybody that's serving alcohol is ServSafe certified. Myself and Teresa in the back are both, and our store supervisor is also ServSafe certified at this point. So anybody that comes and consumes alcohol in our establishment or from us would be monitored, especially with our security team. We will monitor the beachfront and the docks. So if we see something, we would address it, but we can't necessarily monitor people that are consuming on their own on their boat, which is the major concern that I would have. That is also why we were trying to expand our liquor license zones, so that way we could monitor what people were drinking and where they were drinking it. And the same thing with the old license. As you guys see the new license, it's the same thing. But we did remove some of the areas in which were a concern to the community. So we did remove the lakefront from serving alcohol. But I still cannot stop people from consuming it in areas that I'm not there. But we won't serve it there via this license that we applied for.
Steve?
Yeah, not so much a question, it's just a comment. So you mentioned ServSafe that deals with food prep and everything like that, but to serve liquor to the public, there's a state certification that you have to get. It's called public server.
Yep.
The alcohol server, and anyone who serves needs to have one of that from the state.
So we're ServSafe for food ServSafe, or we're also ServSafe for liquor ServSafe. I call it ServSafe just because I'm used to calling it ServSafe, but it is, we have two different certifications. One's for food for our restaurant, the other one is for beer, wine, and liquor. So and all three of us will have the beer, wine, and liquor. All three of us currently have the restaurant and serving aspect of it. And then anybody else, any bartender, anybody that's actually serving will be licensed to at least the liquor serving aspect of that. The other one is very intense, and I didn't think it was gonna be that hard to pass, but it was.
Chat question?
No more from chat right now.
From the floor?
Can I do one more? I promise it'll.
Got one in the
Would you please provide us with a few more details about Your security team, like how many people, what the roles are and things like that, please?
Yeah, so we have the park operations manager, will oversee, the security team, anything safety oriented, so they're gonna oversee the lifeguards, and pool watches. The security team should be, when we fully get ramped up, it'll be somewhere between 8 and 12 people, which is pretty large. We will be around the clock, so even in the evening, we'll have at least one person there to monitor what's going on when no other manager is there. Additionally to that team, every person has every manager on property that holds the manager title. We are gonna have a manager on duty. So even if that security team is out there and something happens, they're gonna have somebody to call or that's on property already. So it really enforces it behind our security team and they have some support if something were to happen.
Is there a phone number to call when at 12:30 at night I can call and somebody is lost and can't find their way back to the campground? I'm on the Wayne side, my home and my camp.
Not as of right now. I didn't know that was an issue.
Might be.
It could be.
You'll get back to us.
We can, I can definitely look into it, Teresa, if you don't mind just writing down, look at options.
Yes, ma'am.
I know I'm annoying, but,
No?
okay,
No.
this is a request. And you may have already taken care of this, but I would like to request that you don't use straws, that you use plastic coffee stirrers, and that your plasticware is recyclable or compostable, and same with any other products that you use.
So we are actually looking to purchase all paper compactable products.
Cool, thank you.
Including straws and anything that would impact the environment.
Great,
It's
thank
really
you.
where everybody else is going and
Yeah.
we're right on board with it.
Okay, great, thanks.
Okay, how are we doing? Any more questions? Any more questions from chat?
Just a comment from iPad. I don't think I'm alone in feeling that adding 5,000 people to the area will negatively impact the quality of life in Wayne and surrounding communities. Probably meant to say will not, I don't know. Anyways.
Okay. Would you like to make any sort of closing remarks?
Yeah, I really appreciate everybody coming out. There's a lot of things that are going on, and I know that there's gonna be concerns and issues or complaints. My door really is an open door. I know a lot of people say it, but my door is our campground. So feel free to come over. I'll give you a tour of the property. Come see the things that we're doing and ask questions while we're there. We're really not hiding anything, and I don't want people to think we are. I've actually had a couple people from the community come over, and we really do embrace the community. You guys are the reason why we're gonna be able to get the people in the door that we wanna get in and really aim for a demographic that we're aiming for. I believe in the past, there was a different demographic that was kind of utilizing the space. We're really aiming to be that family-oriented park that anybody's safe to come into. And when they come into the community, you'll see the difference between, coming into a store and buying sandwiches and having a great time, and maybe not having the best interaction with some of the older generations that would come through the park. So we really strive to get that caliber of person coming through the park so it doesn't impact the community in a negative way. So like I said, come to the park, come visit us, come talk to, our GEM and our maintenance team and really just come see the property. And you'll see the difference in the quality that we're trying to put into it. And it's welcome to anybody. If you don't mind giving us a call first, so that way somebody's available, but come on over and take a look.
Do we have your number somewhere?
I try not to give my personal number out.
Nice.
Only because it's a lot of phone calls and I have 2 young kids at home, so I don't mind answering the phone, but.
Is there a
So
number
is
that
there a
we
number
know
that we
is there
know?
one that we know about to call?
Yep, there's an office phone number. Does anybody know it off?
Or
Teresa,
do we
do you?
just look up Jellystone
Yep,
Augusta? and
Yep,
that's
so it's right on the
okay.
website. You can
Oh,
call
okay.
over.
793332108.
There we go.
Okay, I won't remember.
Scott's
I'll
on
look
it.
at it.
If you come down the road, Scott will know. He lives right by nearby, so it's pretty convenient.
Would the town manager like to close the meeting?
Yeah, I have one more question that came out, it makes sense to ask it. Person's asking, what are your weeks or months of operation? When you start, when you close?
So we open May 13th right now, and we close October 10th, I believe it is.
Thank you.
I'd just like to thank everybody for attending this meeting.
Yes,
and,
please.
for your patience and your questions, really appreciate it. I thank Jeremy for his time and effort. If you have any questions in the future about Jellystone, obviously give him a call directly, but if you have any questions about the permitting process and any questions about active permits or the permitting process in Maine, feel free to give Chip, our code officer, a call. He's ready and willing to help. And if you have any concerns about just sort of violations or things like that, the issues that you have concerns about, particularly Jellystone, feel free to give Chip a call too. Thank you.
You're not taking any calls, Jeremy?
I'll take it too.
Feel free to,
This
feel
will
free to
end
grab
the,
some swag and
video
snacks
end
on
of
your way
this.
out, or hang out for a little bit and have some conversation. I'm gonna hang out for a